the good life, full of fun.
Hey guys, welcome to my kitchen. Another fun, exciting, awesome day in the kitchen. I'm going to tell you why. First and foremost, one of my favorite Frank Sinatra songs just came on Pandora on my Frank Sinatra station. It's Come Fly With Me. It's definitely one of my favorites. I know you'd like me to sing a little bit longer, but I'm going to just spare you guys. I don't want you to start writing me, for my autographs and little sound bites of my great voice. But in any case, what I want to talk about today is something that is dear to my heart, something that really is one of my greatest, deepest loves for Italy, and that's olive oil. And I want to teach you really how to identify good oil, but how to taste it. There's such a beauty in true, authentic, extra virgin olive oil, and it's really something to be experienced, to taste. Just like you see great wines or a great cigar, or you watch people taste coffees, olive oil is meant to really be experienced that way, and it has such a strong connection in history of the world. And so I want to talk a little bit about that, but I certainly want to talk about how to taste it. So let me show you some extra virgin olive oil here. So I'm going to do a shameless plug, so bear with me. But for some of you guys that know, maybe some of you don't, I own a farm in Italy, and it's an olive grove. So I bought it about 10 years ago. And what's really neat is this is our olive oil. I have two boys. My younger son's Vito. My older son is Joey, who's actually in culinary school in Milan, Italy right now. So it's Vito and Joe's extra virgin olive oil. So when you look at this front picture, I just want to share with you, this is a picture of the Boreal family. So the Boreal family, my grandfather Giuseppe and grandmother Caroline, came from a little town called Cosioli near Milan. So that's my grandfather Giuseppe, and that's my grandmother, and all the other family members. So I thought it would just be so beautiful to use that picture of the Boreal family on our label. So we have that, and then on the back of the label you're going to see a picture of our farm, which is it's in Vico del Gargano. It's just north of Bari, Italy, across from Naples on the other shore. It overlooks the Adriatic. We've got about 20 acres now. We've got a little over 1,000 trees, and we co-opt with a couple other farms to bring you just absolutely beautiful, authentic extra virgin olive oil. So I want to show you how to taste it, and a little bit on how to identify oil, and a little bit on what the history is. So I'm going to open this. It always breaks my heart, though it brings me joy to open oil. So this is a bottle of olive oil, and this is extra virgin oil. And what does that mean exactly? So when you talk about extra virgin, and it's a little different nowadays on the mechanical means on how they extract oil, but essentially what extra virgin means and where it came from is the first pressing of oil. Oh boy, that is one of the best ways to test for great oil, and it's just an absolute, oh yeah, that's great. And we're going to teach you how to do that right with a glass, but like I said, like a bottle of wine, you're going to let that breathe. But in reality, that oil that's in there, this has been a recent harvest. So this is something that came from our farm in November. And when we talk about extra virgin, with the way they used to do olive oil is they would do a pressing of the oil. And that first pressing was considered the extra virgin oil. And that's why you'd hear words like pressings and such. Nowadays, that's not to say that no one produces it that way, but most oils aren't produced that way. So what they're going to do is they're going to crush the oil, and then they're going to use a centrifuge to extract it. So let's kind of step back for a minute. When we look at olive oil comes from a tree. It's a fruit. It blossoms early. It's harvested in October or November, and the trees are essentially about the size of like an apple tree. And right before the olive is ripe, they're going to pick the olive. Now, why do they do that? It basically comes down to flavor and acidity. So what happens is you pull the olive from the tree, and you're going to crush it. So they're going to take these olives from the tree. Ideally, they want to pick them directly from the tree and not things that have fallen. And then what they're going to do is they're going to put it in a basket. You put it in a net, which we harvested. We've got pictures right on our Facebook and page. And then you take these down to the local olive oil processing area or plant, if you will. These are small areas and small farms. And so what you do is you bring the olive in baskets to the production house, and then they put it in a machine and it crushes it. So some of you have maybe seen these big, huge stone wheels, and there's pictures of it on our website, like I said. So they would initially crush the olive with the seed, with everything. And they'd crush this, And it's very important to keep it at a low temperature. You want to keep it relatively cool. And then from that, it creates this mush. And that's the water and oil component of the fruit. And then they put that into a vat and they would slowly stir it, very slowly. Temperature is very critical. You don't want to be too cold and you won't get any yield of the oil. If it's too hot, it ruins the oil, okay? So they mix it slowly, and this goes on for about an hour. And right when you watch it, it's really cool. You start to see the oil release itself from the water content. Then they pump that right in nowadays into a centrifuge, which does a high spin, and it extracts the oil. And right out of the tube comes this beautiful green gold, which is extra virgin olive oil. Now, what classifies it as extra virgin? And I got to tell you, the aroma here is just fantastic. What classifies it as extra virgin is the acidity content. Now, right now by law, it's 0.8% acidity, and that's from oleic acid within the olive oil. But nowadays, the standards actually dropped. The more acceptable number now is 0.5%. So that's going to give you the purest olive oil that you can get. So this is just smelling beautiful. So traditionally, if you're going to taste olive oil in comparison to other oils, they're going to use a colored glass. It looks like a wine glass just like this, but it's colored, typically in a dark blue. Now, why do they do that? Because you don't want to be fooled by the color, the green color, if you will, of olive oil. So the color of olive oil, I know it's a misnomer, doesn't really have a lot to do with the quality of extra virgin. The green is primarily due to the chlorophyll content of olive oil, so that's where the green comes from. So typically what you're going to do, if you're in a tasting, you're going to put maybe about 1/3 of an ounce of olive oil in a glass, okay? Now they'll do this in tasting, which is really amazing to watch, right? And they're gonna have contests and grade the oil. So what you wanna do, you can just do a fun in your house and try different flavors. You're gonna put your hand around it, you're gonna cup it, and you're gonna put your hand over the top of it. And what that does is it warms the oil just a little bit, and it gives off the vapor of the olive oil, okay? So by that, it volumizes it, if you will, within the glass, okay? And as you stir it just a little bit here, and then as soon as you're done, this is how they do it, okay, the experts, as soon as you're done, you don't want to take your hand off and then do it. You want to actually put your nose right up to the glass right when you release your top hand. Now, they would typically use a plate because you don't want the if you will, any flavors or the salt from your hand to affect the flavor of the oil. So they usually use another glass. You don't want to use metal or plastic. You want to use glass. So it's totally inert. It doesn't affect or react with the flavor of the acids of the oil at all, okay? And then you give it a stir and then you smell it. And remember, your taste is not going to give you the, that's beautiful. So what you're smelling for is it grassy? Is it earthy? You can get a little bit of a pepper. You're going to catch a little bit of a fruit. So sometimes if it's in Puglia, a lot of times there's oranges or lemons, which you can smell a little bit of a citrus on the backdrop, and it's very grassy and it's earthy. And that's really what I'm going to grab out of here. Sometimes you'll get nuts, and depending on the area, you know, our area is known for chestnuts, so you'll get a chestnut flavor, you'll get almond flavor, and it really depends on what's in the ground and what's been grown there, and that's absolutely beautiful. So the flavor's great. We're going to grade the color here just a little bit, which is a little bit of a green, kind of a greenish gold, okay? But again, that doesn't really play into the quality of an extra virgin, but it's nice to be able to identify your oil based upon its color. And then we're going to taste it, and they'll do it very similar to coffee. You're going to actually put a little bit in your mouth, and then you're gonna almost suck it back, if you will, and it kind of looks funny, and if you watch them slurp coffee and so forth. But what you're looking for at that point is you're trying to volumize it, you're vaporizing it in your mouth, and then you want to smell through your nose. You want the olfactory, and what you're going to be able to do is smell all of those flavors that you smelled initially, okay? So you're going to do just a little shot. And then when you breathe, see right there, you can really smell the citrus. And then what happens immediately, I can taste the grassy, earthy, and then you get a really strong pepper, almost like a little burn on the back of your throat. And that's from the acids. That's from essentially the oleic acid, which is almost like a astringent. It has a lot of benefits for the body as well. And then what happens is that starts to mild or calm down a little bit, and then you're left with a very smooth, earthy, grassy flavor. And that's really common for the for the Ogliari variety. So there's different varieties of olives, just like if you think apples, there's different flavors of apples, right? So a McIntosh versus a Cortland or what have you. So there's different types of olives that are used. I think there's 45 to 50 different varieties of olives that are used. And then depending on how it's harvested and how it's extracted and what region of Italy it's from is going to give you often a different flavor. So you're going to have a very strong flavor, something that's going to be much more bitter with a lot more bite in the back of the throat, or you can have something that's very mild that has very little flavor at all. And Puglia region is known for a moderate oil, so it's not very light, but it's not very heavy, it's not bitter, it's not really hard or stringent in the back of your throat. So, and it's great to taste it this way because you can really accentuate that smell, and it's got a nice bite to it right in the moment. Another way you'll see a lot of guys taste it is just like this. So when I go to Italy in October, November, and you go to the old farms and you get to hang out with all the old Italian guys and all the old farmers, and they love it. They'll often use a glass like we just did, and they'll often use a white plate with a spoon to taste it. And it's just a great way to do it. They'll bring in some local bread from the area. Many times they'll bring cheese. They'll bring in apples to help clean their palate if they're going to taste your oil versus somebody else's oil. And a lot of the old farmers actually have a teaspoon to a tablespoon of oil every day because of the health benefits of olive oil, primarily like what they call the polyphenols, which are antioxidant and really good for your body. So another way you'll see them do it is they'll just take a white plate. And again, this wouldn't be something that you would do to, in a contest, if you will, where you're grading it, but it's something to just taste your oil. And you want to smell. You definitely want to breathe through your nose. That's going to bring in so many of those different flavors. Olive oil came actually from Asia, and it was originally in Asia, and then it spread out through the Middle East, and then through Greece. And then why you see a huge number of trees in Puglia is right out of Bari. There was a harbor. So when Rome conquered Greece, they actually brought the olive tree in high numbers up through Bari. So when you look at Puglia, what happens is right from Bari forward, you see this huge concentration of olive trees that comes right up through Puglia, which is a beautiful area to grow because the climate is absolutely perfect. It's not too cold, it's not too hot, it's dry. When it's dry, it acts it causes the tree to strain itself a little bit, and by straining the tree, it actually extracts a little bit more of the nutrients from the soil, and it gives you a much better flavor in the oil. And the key ingredient, which we touched on just a little bit ago, was on the acid content of the oil. So when you look at a bottle of olive oil, what you want to see is that it has a listing of the region of the oil, which you'll see ours does. It's got when it was harvested, and these are all handwritten by us. It's got the region, which is Puglia. It's got the lot number that was used. It's got the date that it was harvested. And it clearly explains that everything was actually brought through mechanical methods. So what that means is there's no chemicals that were used to extract the oil. So nothing that diluted it or adulterated the oil in any way. And it really gives you an absolutely beautiful flavor to the oil. So where do you get oil? Our oil anyways. You can get it right on our Facebook. If you go to Cooking Italian with Joe, or you can go to Vito and Joe's Extra Virgin Olive Oil, or you can punch it in on Amazon, or you can just punch in a search on Google or Yahoo, and it'll actually bring it right to our website. And you can just click buy, and we sell two sizes. We sell a full liter, which is $30 plus shipping that we can ship right to your house, or we do one that's about 400 milliliters of oil, so it's just shy of half a liter, and these are $20. And they're all labeled with our family label, a picture of our farm, a little bit of twine for decoration. And these are all labeled and processed by us. So we're really happy to share it with you, and great to share my heritage, certainly my traditions with you. And one of my favorite loves for Italy is olive oil. You can add it to any dish, obviously, and it just adds wonderful flavor and wonderful quality and wonderful content. It brings me right to the shore of the Adriatic Sea. So thanks for spending a little time with me. Hopefully you learned a little bit about something about olive oil. And like I said, in order to get a great bottle, certainly visit us on our website, and we'd be happy to ship it out to you, and we can ship you out something every month or what have you, and you can really experience the true authentic taste of Italy and true authentic extra virgin olive oil. Again, guys, thanks for allowing me to share my heritage, my traditions with you. Have some fun with your family in the kitchen. Go grab yourself a couple of bottles of olive oil from Joe Borio on Vito and Joe's Cooking Italian with Joe. Until next week, mwah! Buon appetito.
It's the good life.